Stories in wrestling aren't just written in championship gold or pay-per-view posters. They're written in pain, in grudges, in moments that never heal. Every generation has one rivalry that refuses to fade, that defines not just two men, but an entire era. For this generation, that story belongs to CM Punk and Seth Rollins. Their conflict isn't about wins and losses, or even world titles. It's about rejection, betrayal, survival. Scars carved so deep that even decades later they still bleed. It begins in the early 2000s. A young Seth Rollins, just a teenager, broke but dreaming, looked up to CM Punk as his idol. Posters of the straight-edge savior hung over his bed. Seth reached out, hoping for guidance, maybe even training, but the answer was silence, a cold number. For Seth, it was the first cut, small but unforgettable, a rejection that hardened into fuel. While Punk was carving his name in Ring of Honor, in blood-soaked wars with Samoa Joe, Raven, and Bryan Danielson, Rollins was grinding in dusty gyms and tiny halls, teaching himself to leap past ceilings the world tried to put over him. Two roads, different landscapes, but heading toward the same destination. Punk rose as the voice of the voiceless, shaking WWE to its core with his words and willpower. Rollins became the architect, engineering chaos in every ring he stepped into. They weren't allies, they weren't enemies. They were two storms circling closer, destined to collide. That collision came in 2012. Punk was WWE champion at the height of his power, and he needed protection. From the crowd, three shadows emerged in riot gear. The Shield, Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and in the center, Seth Rollins, the very kid Punk had once brushed aside. For a time, their paths ran parallel. Punk the leader, Rollins the tactician, but wrestling dynasties never last forever. In 2014, Seth drove a steel chair into his brother's backs, shattering the Shield and rewriting his destiny. That same year, Punk, broken by politics and injury, walked away from WWE entirely. One man abandoned the machine. The other sold his soul to it. One was turned into a martyr, the other into a traitor. But both were haunted by the same scar. In the years that followed, their legacies only grew darker. Punk's absence became legend, chants of his name echoing in arenas long after he was gone. Rollins, meanwhile, bled for the company, carrying brands on his back, fighting through injury, reinventing himself again and again. Fans booed, cheered, doubted, hated, but Rollins never stopped. Then the unthinkable happened. Survivor Series 2023. CM Punk walked back through a WWE curtain. The ovation shook the industry. Fans cried, laughed, lost their minds. But Seth Rollins didn't smile. He snarled. To him, this wasn't a hero's return. This was a ghost stepping back into the house he abandoned. From that moment, the rivalry reignited. Punk eliminated Rollins at the Rumble, beat him in the Chamber, cost him his chance at WrestleMania glory. Each time they shared a ring, it wasn't just a match. It was venom made flesh. And now their story feels eternal. At WrestleMania, they tore into each other while Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman's shadow loomed. At SummerSlam, Rollins shattered Punk's dreams again. In Paris, betrayal struck deeper than ever. And still, the war didn't end. Because this is bigger than titles, bigger than main events. This is about two men defined by the same scar. Punk, the rebel who left. Rollins, the survivor who stayed. One became myth by absence. The other became hated by endurance. Their rivalry has outlived eras, survived companies, transcended storylines. Every generation has its defining feud. Hogan versus Andre, Brett versus Shawn, Rock versus Austin. For ours, it's CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. And the truth is simple. This rivalry doesn't end. Not at WrestleMania, not at SummerSlam, not in Paris. Every time their paths cross, the scar reopens, the story grows taller, and the myth only deepens. This is not just another feud. This is the greatest rivalry of this era.